Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Punaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti. We are studying in this class about thinking. And the most important thing we need to know about it is that the reason we are studying this is so that life improves. What is the point of knowing all the rules and everything and life continues just the same? So the purpose of all this education, any education in fact, is so that our life improves. We know how to handle life better. Now, why are we particularly doing about thinking? Because, suppose you, is it okay now?
Jankiji,
better?
Really don't know. After one or two sentences, we know.
Oh, Harry says sound is fine. You all are finding sound fine or not?
Yeah, the sound here is fine.
Okay. No, it's cracking. Okay. Oh, well, let's hope it works. You never know with this. This IT is always a questionable thing. When it's good, it's very, very good. And when it's bad, it's very, very bad. So, the purpose of education is to change life. Now, why have we particularly chosen thinking is because in the other aspects of life, when you do something wrong, you get pretty quick repercussions. You get the repercussions in not only quickly, you also understand why you got those repercussions. For instance, if you put on weight, you understand immediately that you ate more than you sort of used up calories. You had more calories than you used up, or you put your simplest as you put your hand in the fire. You can very clearly see a causal relationship. I put my hand in the fire and I got burned. So when there are other aspects of life, right? I'm not dealing with my spouse properly or my children properly, immediately there's a backlash. So it's very easy to sort of see in terms of action or things like that in other aspects of life, the backlash of having done it wrong. When it comes to thinking, seeing that causal relationship becomes well nigh very, very difficult. We just can't identify most of the time what in our thinking is bringing us to where we have arrived. In both cases, the good as well as the bad. Many things in our life are good. We don't know what thinking brought us those good things, and many things in our life are bad, and we don't know what brought us that. So it's very important that when we study these pramanas means the valid source of knowledge. It's very important that when we study the pramanas, we look at it like that. Look at it like that means look at it in a way that we can use it as a vacuum cleaner for all the junk thoughts we have. So we should be able to sort of use it. Otherwise, what's the point, right? How? So let's say that you have some thought, any thought. I should study Vedanta, for instance. You have a thought. Okay, or Vedanta, studying Vedanta is a very good thing. You have this thought. You ask yourself the question, how do I know this? So, what is your answer? How do you know that Vedanta is a very good thing? So, how many ways could you have known this? Please tell me the ways you could have known that it's a very good thing to study, or anything. Okay, whatever. Let's take another one. Let's take having a career is very important. Okay, let's take that so that there's no bias over there. So how could you have learned this? How could you have found this out?
Through the four sources.
Yeah, so tell me, you could have,
Perception.
yeah, you could have perceived it. In what sense? You could have heard that your parents or somebody, or you could have heard it being said that career is very important. A perception means you have to actually experience something. So you saw a person do very well in his career, and then you sort of said, see, he did so well in his career, so doing well, and then he's so happy, so therefore doing well in career. So suppose you went about it like that. Then what method have you used?
Pratyaksha.
You use pratyaksha as well as anumana. So you've used perception as well as you have used inference. Okay, so you have to then now we have to establish whether it is true that you should have a good career in life. So first you find out, where did I get this notion from? Did I see something? Did I hear something? Whatever. Or did I infer it out of something that I saw and I heard? How did I get this thought? So whenever I have a thought, I need to know, how did I get this thought? Did I get it through any valid source of knowledge? For instance, it's very important to have a career in life. So I can say, all my friends say so. So where did I get it from?
Friends.
Vox
Friends, authority. If you think friends to be authority, then
Would you think your friends to be authority? Where did you get it from? All my friends say it's very important to have a career in life.
if
Where did
they
you
have
get it from?
careers,
Hmm?
if they have careers,
Sorry?
then if they have careers,
Okay,
then
they have career. Why are you speaking Sanskrit, Aisha? Use the language of this class. Where did you get it from? Go back and revise, because you're supposed to use all this. Let me tell you what page. Can you tell me what page? Where did you get it from? I got this. Yes, very good.
53, I think.
Yes, tell us page number.
53, inference topic.
No. Not, you didn't get it through inference. You got it through, I told you what. Yeah, where, Shilpa, tell us the page number. I'm assuming you typed it incorrectly because of a typo, and you actually know what it is, correct?
Yes, but I have not checked it in the book.
Okay, so yeah, you're right anyway, but you can look up page 18. Vox Populi.
Yes.
So that's fine. But if you look up, that's correct. If you look up page 18, you will see that. You could have got it because everyone says so. You could have also got it out of a sentimental connotation. You love your friends, and they said it. So out of a sentimental connotation also you could have got it. Right? So you need to know, where did I get this piece of information from? That's your first stage. You need not assume that you got it from any valid source. You could have got it from an invalid source in the first place. Okay? So you can't just accept things because everybody thinks they're so. So first and foremost, where did I get it from? And you will find, very surprisingly in life, most of our beliefs have come from invalid sources of knowledge. It's a shocking phenomenon. How much of my life am I spending because what I know has come to me in the very first place from an invalid source? It's a shocking thing. Suppose I say, oh, I must start a business. Then I have to ask myself, where is this coming from? Why do I think I should start a business? Because I like it, I want it. If so, then this is an impulse of my mind. So I must sit down and examine it. I must examine whether or not I should do it. Do we ever examine our impulses? No. Straight away. I feel like it, I do it. It's a very simple and quick movement from I feel like it, I think it's nice, to I do it. There is hardly any gap between the mind coming up with a notion and the physical body executing that notion. Stop. Okay, like once, where Omkar, I think, had given this example once at some point. He said, businesses should take loans to grow. So where did you get this notion that a business must take a loan to grow? You say, I got it from a business expert. Suppose you say, okay, then you start. What should you do? Suppose that's your answer. I got it from a business expert. Then what will you do? Are you not answering because it's too simple or it's too difficult? I'm trying to simplify, so I don't want to make it too simple. So I don't know now.
Check if that
Analyze.
Which one are you going to analyze? I got it from a business expert. So which pramana have I used?
Agami.
Perception.
Hmm?
Authority.
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 What happened to you?
Expert.
Yes. Correct. So therefore, I will now start applying whether I use this thing correctly. Did I check the authority? Is it like just a expert? Who is this expert? Is he alive today? All these things you start checking. When did he say this? He said this 50 years ago. If he said it 50 years ago, then is it still valid today? So you will go through the tests of authority. If you came up with it and you said, no, I think so. People say, I think that businesses should take loans to grow. Then now which pramana are you using?
Self-sila.
Which one?
Self-sila. I believe.
No, why self-sila? I think that businesses should take loans to grow. I haven't given you any further information, Shilpa, so you don't know.
Some sort of inference.
Yes, it's an inference. It's my belief. Since it's my belief, then I must go back and check how did I come to this inference? What is my data point? What is my logic? Was there a logic, or I just jumped to some conclusion? So at every step, I need to question my own thoughts to know how I got them and whether that did turn out to be a valid source of knowledge or not. Because if I don't do this very consciously, then the sad part of life is that there's always a glass ceiling over my head. You know, it's a very, very sad thing in life when you think you could have done better, but you haven't. So that is a very sad thing, because if you did have that potential, and we assume that you assess yourself correctly, if you did have that potential, which thought of yours kept you back. It is very easy to say that somebody or something else. But the fact of the matter is, some thought of mine kept me back. I don't know if you all attended the class on poetry, but you remember the example of Andrea del Sarto? He was supposedly the world's best painter. And yet, nobody, absolutely nobody, has heard of him. Why? If he was of the caliber of a Raphael or a Michelangelo, then why do we not know Andrea del Sarto? So much talent. But he had a thought. And his thought was, my life counts for nothing if I cannot have Lucretia. Lucretia was his wife, who absolutely hated him. Naturally, he was such a pylon he was. Who likes a pylon like that? Well, wife was, who's this guy? The world's best artist. Lost his art, his fame, everything. Because he had this thought that without Lucretia, my life is nothing. So based on her whims and fancies, his life ran. Because he got a commission to be the court painter in the French king's court. And then Lucretia didn't like to live in Paris. So she went away. And the French king had given, he gave a commission to an artist, so he paid the artist. So this chappie took all the money and he ran away behind Lucretia. And whose whole life he has to escape from the king now. And Lucretia is constantly running. She is least as interested in him. What a mess. What a mess. What could have been such a great life ended up in so much tragedy. So now he could say that this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened, so many things, without identifying that the one cause of all the misery is this notion which he had. It'd be nice if we could take a time machine, go back to his life and change that one notion. Then we would have way better paintings available to us. But we can't take a time machine and go back into Andrea del Sarto's life. But we can with our own. So we must do that. We can identify what is keeping us down and take actions to go further. So we start the investigation. Where will you start it? Start it with frequent thoughts. Because frequent thoughts, you will find yourself repeating many thoughts. Now, the minimum we should do is these thoughts which we are repeating to ourselves, at least those thoughts let us make sure are right. Because we're going on saying them, so at least let it be true in the first place. Just start with repeated thoughts. Or check out a core value system, which is where we were, right? So is everybody clear about this basic point that we have to use the pramanas to locate whatever thoughts are keeping us back in life? When I say keeping us back in life, it could mean keeping us back from making money. It could keep us back from having proper relationships. It could even be keeping us from our health. Because sometimes we have all these wrong notions of, how to preserve health. So we don't know what is that thing which thought we are holding and where is it keeping us back. But it's a good place to check, is a place where we feel we are failing. That's a good place to check, because what am I doing here which is not right? Or if you feel another place, a good place to check is where you feel you've done well in that, but not as well as you could have. That's another good place to check. Because imagine just it's like one rope holding you back and you leave the rope and so place. But all this requires work, Not like you say, okay, very nice, very nice. It all requires work. So be willing to put all this work in. Okay, so the other place is it may be a core value system we have. A very frightening thing because sometimes we have core value systems which are actually maybe obsolete or irrelevant. It's a sad thing. You can't have a core value system which is irrelevant in the world. Not if you wish to achieve anything in the world, at least. Okay, so let's read that. We finished this, no? So let us, we did that. Okay, let's just read it again. Let us start with frequent thoughts. Is there a thought which occurs often? Do a quick check of the consequences of holding that thought. If you feel it has worked well, try another until the malignant one is discovered. Or else, there is a core value system that may not even occur to us as our barrier. Something we do not consciously think about, but it is in the background somewhere. Here are some examples. It's better to keep quiet than to speak up. Now, many people feel like that. It's also the other way. It's better to speak up than to keep quiet. Both ways, core value system. But what's wrong with it? Both ways it's wrong. Why?
You have to see the situation.
It depends on the context.
Very good. You have to see the situation. You have to see the context. And say it's good to keep quiet or it's good to speak. Depends on what context we are in. Better to be safe than sorry. So many people don't take up good opportunities that come to them because they feel it's better to be safe than sorry. Opposite is equally true, okay? That throw caution to the wind and jump in. So you have to know what is that situation. This is another very, very difficult one to conquer. I must do what I feel like immediately. Many people actually think so that the moment they think they should do something, they should do it. It's the worst way of living life because actions lead to consequences. And therefore, you should know the consequences before you perform the action. Or you can't always know it, but you can make some assessment of it. People who push themselves to the front are cheap. Have you heard that? Very, very often we hear that. कि वो अपने आप को what आगे whatever something. Push yourself to the front. Such people are cheap. No, there are occasions in which you have to push yourself to the front. And there are occasions where it's more graceful to stand behind. Another one, asking for fair value for my services makes me seem money-minded. This is something that keeps people back a lot, that they cannot ask for the fair value of their service. So obviously, if you are willing to take a job for 5 rupees, people will give you 5 rupees. So very, very important that you go and assess. See, it's a very strange thing in life that people will tell you that you are money-minded when they are not giving you fair value. It's a very interesting phenomenon. Suppose a man wants to sell you vegetables, okay, and he sells the vegetable 20 rupees. Then you say, oh, You're so money-minded. Why do you want 20 rupees? You should manage with 15 rupees. And then he feels bad, really, and he says, yeah, I shouldn't ask for 20. I should do it 15. Imagine what will happen to such a person. The whole world will make a doormat out of him. So, like, Are, you're telling me I'm money-minded when you have given no fair value for this service in the first place. So when you have these notions in your head, like there's some sort of guilt associated with asking for what is the right amount for your service. And when that guilt is there, the world knows how to make use of it. So we have to see what we are doing wrong. It's interesting. It's very interesting when you start delving into your own mind and you start saying, oh, look at that. Look at the weird ways in which we are reacting to things. Can you give me any examples of this that you may have noticed in life? Any of these, like how people have these strange thoughts in their head and that thought is never examined.
I mean, one very obvious example is if you're doing well in studies, you should help the entire class with their homework or something like that. There's like a ridiculous notion that people have. It's like, if you know it, you should be a good person and just, like give everybody your time to teach them, But it's like, it depends on me whether I want to teach you or not.
Yes, all charity must be done with, it becomes charity only if I do it with my heart, right? Not because I got forced into it or bullied into it. So, Omkar, you were saying something?
No, I thought I was giving an you should always listen to your elders.
Okay, you should always listen to your elders. Now, this is good advice that you should listen to your elders, but listen to your elders doesn't necessarily mean follow everything they say. Even in the choice of the career, most of us today are incapable of advising youngsters which career to take because we don't even know what options are available to them. Khalil Gibran says that, you follow your children, but never ask them to follow you because you are of yesterday and they are of tomorrow. They can see what you cannot conceive. These are not his exact words, by the way. So you can look up his quote, but really you can't follow. And yet there are times where we need to listen to elders because they have experienced something which we have not. So we can't have one thing. I will not listen to my elders. I will listen to my elders. I can't do either of them. When I joined Vedanta Academy, my parents were dead set against it. They thought I was throwing my life down the drain. When we start a university also, many parents will not be able to conceive what we are going to be doing there. Because you could look at it from an extremely narrow perspective. But somebody has to have an open mind, right? To do something new. Even today, what they do, liberal education. A few years ago, it was unheard of. And today, liberal arts, which has become like the most popular thing today, it was unheard of. And you can imagine what the parents must have said. Liberal arts, what is liberal arts? You go do your MBA, you go engineering, you go do medicine. But people with a different degree, sometimes even in class, I meet the people, the class member that say, so what do you do? And they say, I do X, Y, or Z, and I've never heard of that field. What did Momita tell me something? I forgot what she told me also. Something so complicated that I thought, okay, forget it. Otherwise, they'll tell you something from IT, which you can't understand a word of what they're doing. So how can we advise people on their careers when we have never heard of those? And yet we have this belief that we have to listen to the elders and all that. We are elders. Nobody should listen to us on matters we don't know. A friend was telling me of a colleague, educated teacher, who was suspicious of the swabs used in COVID testing. Why? Because the person said if they were not trying to do something underhanded, why won't they be willing to use my swabs? What? A friend was telling a colleague who was suspicious. Why won't they be willing to use my swabs, meaning?
It's an example of conspiracy theories.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where we suddenly get an idea that there's
Yeah.
something going on, and this person was
Mm-hmm.
very concerned that there was something wrong with the swabs that they were using. Why she thought that, but her reasoning was, well, if there wasn't something they were trying to do with it, then I should be able to bring my swabs and they would use that.
Oh.
I mean, you just think for a minute, some doctor's going to use a swab from who knows where in order to, I mean, it's not evidence. But in that mindset, if we don't examine it, which I think is your point, we can get caught by it. I mean, I wouldn't get caught by that, but there are things I do get caught by. It's like it happens.
Yeah, really. Yes, why won't you use my
And then you
swabs
see
because
that
we
on a
don't know what
large
you
scale.
use them.
Yeah, and you see that on a large scale. That's concerning, because then suddenly governments move, countries move based on this kind of stuff. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah, really.
Anyway, so.
Most important thing is we should be able to see it when we do it. That's the critical part, and how it's impacting our life, really. So yes, we are surrounded by this all the time. Okay, so anyone else has any other example? Or else
Yeah, to take a vaccine also, people have so many, doubts, apprehensions about where they are coming from with their belief systems and all that.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, some people just blindly follow authorities, and some people feel, the authority is telling me something, he has to have some kind of vested interest in it. So all sorts of things. I mean, people can dissent. There's no problem with dissent. But to attribute conspiracy theories is sometimes a little. We tell the help to work for the price of a pizza. Yes, that's true. We want a person to work. That's a very common example. I mean, I hear my staff talk about it, and I'm like amazed that people want them to work for a pittance, and when they refuse, those people tell the poor people that you're money minded, which sounds very odd. So yes, that's right, Momita. Well, Momita, I didn't know you were here. What is that? What did you tell me was your occupation?
Instructional designer.
That one. She's an instructional designer. What is instructional designer? So, things we don't even know about these things. I'm sure you all want to know what is an instructional designer, but then you can ask Momita later on. What are these things? Non-new fields. So let's see. So a core value system sometimes we have. Okay, like we should always pay the least we can get away with. Why should we pay the least we can get away with? Why don't we pay generously? So core value systems that keep us back in life. I know a person who always told me that I can't find any stuff. There's no stuff at all. They don't work at all. But then if you see what is the price point at which they want the stuff, it'll be unlikely that anyone will work at that price. So, but then the person's life is impeded because they can't manage. There was an elderly bachelor. He couldn't manage. He couldn't keep anyone to manage for him. And there was really no reason for him to struggle like that. Very sad. Like, we could all have such lovely, amazing, wonderful lives, and we don't. Why not? So that's it. Another red flag is contradictory thoughts, usually accompanied by frustrating. I don't know if you have ever experienced. Another red flag is contradictory thoughts, usually accompanied by frustrating helplessness. If you feel that ever, this is a very good red flag. A frustrating helplessness, like I'm boxed in, I can't leave this situation. Then know definitely that there is a thought here that is a problem. Delve deep to find what is the problem there. Some examples. I won't listen to everything my spouse says. I'm not that kind of a man or woman. But I am so unhappy with my relationship. Have you heard that? Men who say, oh, मैं मेरी बीवी का सब नहीं सुनता. Or women who say that I don't listen to what my husband says. I don't have to listen to him. What do you mean you don't have to listen to him? How can any spouse say that? How can you not listen to your spouse? I mean, if life is going to be a teamwork and your spouse has something to say, you damn well listen to it. How can you say I won't listen to it? Makes no sense. How can two people be going somewhere together in the car and you refuse to listen to your spouse? So you're either a despot or I don't know what, or an idiot, one of the two. What else could it be? So you'll hear this. I don't listen to what my spouse says. I'm not that kind of a man or woman. Both. I've heard both people here. But then they will continue to talk later on, of course. I'm so unhappy in my relationships. Relationships never work. Because relationships are always cooperative endeavor. How can you have cooperative endeavor unless we listen to each other? How can the class work well if we don't listen to each other? Right? Suppose you have an issue or I have an issue, we have to be able to talk, right? If you like something, I like something, we have to be able to talk. Otherwise, how would you ever know? How would both parties ever know? So when you feel these kind of frustrating helplessness, like you're caught, like how this person must be feeling, then you have to examine yourself. Am I being a little inflexible here? Am I so difficult to live with? What's happening here? Okay, and then the same people will tell you after some time, oh, I can't be bothered to go to parties and I find that, oh, that's very boring. So then you have to ask yourself, am I networking in the right field? How can I want to be, let us say, a good businessman? And I don't wish to network with other businessmen. How is that possible? So am I networking in the right field? Harry, I don't know about that listening stuff. My wife has a very irritating habit of being right. Especially when I want to do something and I've overlooked certain consequences. Much easier not to listen. Yes, much easier not to listen and then face the consequences. The whole point of marriage is that two heads are better than one, right? So if you don't use the second one, you might as well have lived a single life because you're not going to benefit from the vast experience and knowledge of the other person. When we all work together, that's the great thing about cooperative endeavor. When we work together, everyone benefits from everybody's abilities. So most husbands and wives, you will find sort of difference in the sense that one is conservative and the other one will tend to be less conservative. One is a speaker and one is quiet. They tend to be sort of the differences, which is good. There are some people who tend to look at the big picture and some who tend to just go into the detail of everything. So imagine, isn't that great that that my spouse looks at the other side, which I have not looked at. So that suits me. That's good for me. So to say I don't listen, you deny yourself a relationship and you also deny yourself a good relationship. You deny the relationship as well as you deny yourself success in life. Weird, no? Why would you do that? You know why we do that? Why do we do that? We deny ourselves the benefits of our spouse's abilities. Why do we do that?
Because of a desire to be better than
Desire to be?
the other person.
Okay. Actually, basically, it's because we don't think. We just don't think. So if I want to spend money on something and my husband says, oh, that doesn't sound like a good expense to make, I am more concerned with me getting my way rather than thinking this thing out completely and therefore using his or her inputs.
Going into a defensive mode immediately without even thinking.
Correct. So all these things prevent us from thinking. So when someone contradicts us, it's great. It's absolutely great because it brings to our cognition a thought we hadn't thought of earlier. But we won't look at it like that. We will go into all sorts of, and then we stay where we are. Okay. So see the differences in this. Okay. See the point. The point that we should understand is we go through feelings of like helplessness. We're stuck between two, like between the, what is that? Between the devil and the deep blue sea. Okay, you feel there's a wall this side and there's a wall this side and there's nothing you can do. So think of it like this. One wall in my mind says, I don't listen to my spouse. And one wall in my mind says, I have bad relationships and I am just stuck over here. I can't move. One wall in my mind says that, networking is necessary. And one wall says, I hate those people with whom I have to network. Then you're stuck. And you feel like, where can I go from here? I know I have to do it, but I can't do it. Then you can ask yourself a question such as, am I even networking in the right field? Because if I am, then in the right field, I will meet people also interested in the field I'm interested in. No, so it will be fun for me. Why is my spouse not doing this or that? Or that? Or that? Or that? Why is my spouse not doing this or that? Or that? Or that? Or that? But why does she not listen to me? This is a very common relationship issue. You tell somebody to do 45 jobs. 45 jobs. Okay, at some point that person is bound to say, okay, I've had it with doing your jobs. Can I do my own jobs now? And then you say, oh, my spouse doesn't listen to me. When actually that poor spouse of your 45 jobs has already done 25. But we can't see those. So, am I asking for too much change? Am I asking my spouse to be somebody that I'm not? Should I take a business loan? Some say it's the only way to grow. Some say loans are bad. Again, stuck, no? Because why are you stuck over here? Any indecision makes us get stuck. Think it through and take any decision. Either take a loan or don't take a loan. It's better than stagnation. Otherwise, you stay a whole life over there thinking, should I take a loan or should I not take a loan? So this point was about it, about how we have contradictory thoughts within our own head, and therefore we feel a sense of frustration, of helplessness, of being caught, of being bound, of being in a situation from which we can see no release. Like, I won't listen to my husband or wife, and well, I have a terrible relationship, or I want a good relationship, whatever way you put it. So frustrating, because you're not finding out how inflexible we are being. Is this point clear?
I have a question here.
Yeah, Omkar.
If taking a decision is based on two very different criteria and it comes from where the person is, for example, let's say buying a car. Now, if the husband thinks that this is a financial decision and nothing more, and the wife thinks that it's an opportunity to go out on weekends together, the decision of buying a car, for example, cannot be made because they're coming only from two very different schools of thoughts.
Oh, what a good example that is. Very good. Okay, so given what we have just learned, can anyone sort this one out?
Communication.
Reshma, you could answer communication and it would be right anytime, but we don't know what exactly you mean over here. Okay, so Onga has got a great example. Okay, because we're talking about the frustrating helplessness of being caught within two walls. So here is a couple. The wife says, okay, the husband says that this buying a car is a purely financial decision. The wife says it is a decision for us to go out, and it has to be seen in that context. So now you can get totally frustrated, right? Because one is looking at it in this way and one is looking at it that way. So what would you have learned about it through this class, through this specific class, today's class?
Both need to think it through.
Okay, tell us how. Do the whole thing. Do the whole thing so that we know that we've learned how to apply it.
So they
I'm sorry.
have to find out from which valid source have that thought come from.
Okay. So tell us, let's take the man's version. Buying a car is a financial decision. Okay, so what will he do with this thought?
He will analyze why the car is necessary based on how much he's going to use it, and whether there are better options like hiring an Uber.
No, wait, don't go there. Just he says it's a purely financial decision. Now he's got this notion. So first step for him is what?
Why it is a financial decision?
First step will be what? Use the language of the class so that everybody's on the same page.
Where did this thought come from?
Where did this thought come from? So first you have to answer that question. So how many? It could have come from direct perception, it could have come from inference, it could have come from comparison, it could have come from authority. Correct? Then I can determine the validity of that thought by itself. Then the other side says that buying a car is a, let's say, social phenomenon. I'm adding data to Omkar's question. That's a social phenomenon. So where did that thought come from? Find out. Omkar, you are taking the stance. I hope you're realizing what happens. And this is when you were answering the way you were answering, that, let us sort of find out, are there better ways of doing it? How much money is involved? Do we have a better, more productive way of moving around? Things like that. Those kind of questions come after the question, is the purchase of a car a purely financial decision? And have the couple between themselves decided that it is a purely financial decision?
But that itself is the problem.
Yes, it is. Because first it has to be established whether it is a purely financial decision or not. So once you have established that, then you can go forward in the analysis. So it's a great example to show us the thought that is leading us down a particular line. And once you start with that thought, then everything can be rational. But what in this is not always rational is
The first thought.
The starting thought.
starting. Who has examined that starting thought? It's a purely financial decision, especially when your spouse opposes it. This is your chance to find out whether or not it is a purely financial decision. This is your chance. For instance, I'll give you another example. Yours is a very practical example, Omkar. I'll give you one that might make things clear. A woman wants a diamond. Okay, she wants a diamond earring. She wants a solitaire, let's say. That she wants a solitaire, is this a purely financial decision?
Absolutely not.
Huh?
No, it isn't.
It isn't, right? Very few financial decisions are financial decisions. So we have to know her thought. She wants a solitaire. Now, this is not a financial decision, because most men will start saying, do you know that the prices of diamonds never escalate? But was she doing an investment? There wasn't an investment. So why discuss whether the price of diamond is going to go up or not? It's not being bought for that reason. So these original thoughts are what we need to. Is that clear? It was a great example, so I hope it was clear.
No, so you're saying we need to get to the very genesis of this and understand in the first place whether it has to be a financial decision or not. But
Correct.
that's where the fight is.
Correct. So that's great, right? So once you figure out whether it is a financial decision or not, how will you figure this out? You have to use the pramanas. Where did I get this notion from? Okay. And if this notion itself is incorrect, there's no fight.
So Jankiji, there is a possibility at the end of this activity you find out that the two things are totally non-related, right?
Which two?
The car, whether it is a financial decision or whether it is a desire to get for the social or companionship, these may not be related at all. Like if you do think there is a possibility, it could turn out like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, once you start thinking, it's like opening Pandora's box. You don't know what will come out of it. If you knew, then you're not thinking. It's like you're on a voyage of discovery. So what will come out of it? Who knows? Manoj, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Jankiji. So my question was, I was trying to write it down. So so can we relate this like finding the original thought behind any decision or any event or any outcome, like because that is the focus, that is the context.
Yes,
So
correct. Because like, for instance, in this example, obviously there's a fight going on because the two of them are looking at it differently. Okay, so we can be forever stuck in that frustrating helplessness until you go back and find out, okay, so where is this starting from? It's starting from a concept that car is a financial decision. Or anything, diamond or house or anything, anything. Is it a financial decision? The house you buy, is it a financial decision? Is it a purely financial decision? So once you've gone back to that, figured out where I got that thought from, and then applied the pramanas, you may find that, things are quite different from what I thought them to be. And
Right.
therefore, suddenly you find your relationship getting better, and you said, oh, how, my thought of car being a financial decision, what is the connection between that and my having a particular kind of relationship? And then you find out. So go back, find out.
Right. So can we, I was like, so can we relate it to, in common terms, what we say, like find the root of the problem? Like,
Yes.
so the, like basically going back to the original thought is going to the root of the problem.
That's right.
But we don't relate in this sense, like it is the root thought, like which is the problem. But in a general sense, like root is something, we take that root problem as something else, whereas it started from that original thought.
That's right. Yes.
Thank you, madam.
Jankiji, I'm still not getting an answer. I mean, the very genesis is the difference. One more example, if that might help, is the way we Indians look at marriages. We've always believed marriages happen once in your lifetime, and you have to spend, because it's the most important thing in your life. And sense says that you should not be wasting, I mean, putting so much money in a single day event. And if you would rather have invested that money, of your life, your retirement would be much better. No, but these two thoughts cannot match at all. I mean, how does one come to a decision like this?
Read this whole thing 25 times. When you're caught in this frustrating helplessness, find out where is the problem. And I think if you just go back to the genesis, go to the original thought, like, or money should be spent on marriages, or money should not be spent on marriages, or whatever. What was your earlier example? Car is a financial decision. Go to that thought, find out where did this thought come to me from, and is that a valid source of knowledge?
Yes, it is a valid source of knowledge from where I come from.
How? You have not told us which pramana have you used to decide that?
Okay, authorities. Financial experts tell me that buying a car should not be based on emotions, but based on logic, which is how much are you going to use it, and whether or not you have better alternatives. Because you're looking at car as purely as a means of transport.
No, I'm not talking about that. So then you have to find whether it's a relevant authority. In this case, you have started with saying that it is a financial decision. I'm asking you, who told you that it's a financial decision? How did you get that thought? You went to a financial authority because you already decided it's a financial decision.
Yes.
My question is, how did you know it's a financial decision? Where did you get that from? If it was so easy to find our wrong thoughts, why did we need such a fat book?
So that okay, if I were to try and answer that question, it comes from the fact that one must plan one's retirement at the time when one is making money.
You're not getting it at all. I'm saying, where did you get the notion that buying a car is a financial decision?
Exactly, I'm saying that. I got that notion.
No, which pramana did you use?
Authorities.
Which authority?
Financial experts.
Array, you're looping, Omkar.
Okay.
Who told you it's a financial decision? You can go to a financial authority if it's a financial decision. No. Who told you it's a financial decision?
I mean, I'm not sure if I'm understanding this, but
okay, but you're not letting me finish the chapter.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, because just the conclusion of the chapter, so we must finish it today. There are so many different thoughts. that could be the barrier to our progress, that it would be well nigh impossible to list them down. So it is up to each one of us to take the responsibility of finding them and tackling them. But it must be clear that there is some thought or thought pattern that is preventing further progress. Omkar, there has to be some thought or thought pattern that is preventing further progress. So it is up to each one of us. Now, if that is clear, we will no doubt find it and deal with it. If analysis does not reveal it, we will have to turn to our real life experiences and see what the consequences of the thought we have held are. I have held the thought that the car is a financial decision, and what has been the consequence of that. And hence we move on to experience, the use of experiences in coming to conclusions. Okay, I wanted to conclude it because just a concluding paragraph saying just what we have done. I hope that's clear, right? So that means we can maybe start the next chapter next time. And please do the exercises for reflection so that you have a chance to check it all out. Okay, so did we have anything else?
Jankiji, announcement on the crowdfunding.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Surendra. Surendra, you all know, right? You